All right. And let me know which question do y'all get. Who would like to spin the wheel first? So your question is your superpower. Muskan will go next.
Yeah, ma'am, sure.
Your favorite singer. All right. So keep these two questions in mind, and we'll use these questions sometime during the journey. What you need to really remember is that y'all don't fail because your English is bad. Y'all largely fail an interview because you don't know how to speak it. Right? You'll have all the ideas in your head. So, what do you think is your biggest interview struggle? And if you had to tell me that, ma'am, this is the one thing which I really struggle with, what would that be?
Ma'am, I think one thing that I face while giving interview is quick response. I'm not good at giving quick response.
What about you, Ayushi?
I get overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, emotion takes over.
Yeah,
And what happens when emotion takes over?
I stutter. I forget my words. My mind goes blank.
Your mind.
So I need to time for myself to settle down.
All right. Interesting. Rishika, what about you? Good to have you. Karman, good to have you. Tanya, good to see you. What is your biggest interview struggle? You fumble. All right. And what about the others? Why don't you quickly tell me in the chat box? So, what we have realized is that most girls struggle with these three reasons. Either you'll have a weak structure where you'll start with the right thought, but because the question is difficult, somewhere you'll forget what to say. The second thing is low confidence, which is you feel cold, you sweat. Sometimes I know of a few girls whose BP drops. Karman is still struggling with English. Yes, Karman, that's a very, 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 very big challenge that girls face. And tonality, flat. Ma'am, my name is Ayushi. I am in so and so city. Flat tone. Sometimes people write your answers and you'll practice it so much that you'll sound like ChatGPT. So, can you all think of any other reason why someone does not get selected? Of course, in this session, I'm also going to give you all some tricks for all of these things. And I know for a fact that Muskan and Ayushi, you have your question for the day, right? Ayushi, what's your question?
What's my superpower?
What's your superpower? And Muskan, what about yours?
My favorite singer.
Who's your favorite singer? Yeah? All right. Let's see which one is Rishika's question. And remember the question, okay? Because we're going to work on it in the webinar. Yeah, Rishika, got your question?
Ma'am, my favorite emoji is this laughing emoji.
All right. So hold on to your answer. Anybody else who'd want to spin the wheel? Anyone who's missing? Karman, we'll go with you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We look at Vaibhavi next. Oops, you got the same one as Rishika. Anybody else who's left? Otherwise, we'll quickly move ahead with the presentation. Tanya, Vaibhavi, have you all got your question? We'll quickly spin the wheel. Here we go. That's for Tanya. All right, Tanya, got your question? Scariest dream you've had. All right,
Yes,
don't need
ma'am.
to answer right now. We'll take the answer as we go ahead. All right, we'll use it in the webinar. And this one is for you, Vaibhavi. The funniest thing you've heard. All right. So these are the questions which we're going to work with. And in this webinar, we're going to continue with this particular structure. For today, what we will look at is the SOAR method. All right. The SOAR method is generally used when the question gets difficult. Okay. So remember this acronym for everyone who struggles with a structure. कि मैम question तो बहुत difficult था, मैं सब भूल गई, मैंने क्या लिखा था, chat GPT से क्या practice किया था. So SOAR is nothing but a situation. You describe the situation in one or two lines. You talk about a real challenge. कोई actual problem जो आपने फेस किया हो उस सिचुएशन में, एक्शन, रेशम ने प्रॉब्लम आया और उसका रिजल्ट. एनी आइडिया सोर मेथड इज बेटर और स्टार मेथड इज बेटर? यू ऑल हैव हर्ड ऑफ द स्टार मेथड? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू ऑल हैव हर्ड ऑफ द स्टार मेथड? क्विकली yes, no in the chat box so that we have some interaction. You all have heard of the star method?
No, ma'am.
No? All right. So, all right. I see one no, one yes, one no. So, STAR method is also a method that is used to answer difficult questions. So, STAR is where we talk about the situation, the task, the action, and the result. But in the STAR method, you cannot show your own viewpoint. Story जैसे नहीं लगता है. Do you all watch movies? Yeah. Can you all quickly tell me in the chat box which is your favorite movie? Quickly. Yes, Muskan.
Ma'am, my favorite movie is Dangal.
Think about it. When did Dangal get exciting?
When the elder sister started believing his coach more than her father.
For me in Dangal, it was when he cut her hair, right? So even when the recruiter asks you your story or a question about your thoughts, when you start using the SOAR framework, आपकी problem के बाद आपकी story interesting हो जाती है. Okay, and we'll practice this. We'll practice the SOAR framework today with the questions that you all got asked at the start. So largely your job is to stand out from all the other cabin crew folks and to speak clearly. So SOAR framework is one. But what I always tell, you need to know when the interviewer asks you a behavioral question, that time you should use the SOAR method. Okay, so behavioral question is, tell me a time when you handled a difficult passenger, or tell me a time when you didn't like something when you were a small child. Tell me something about how your friends will describe your negative traits. These are all behavioral questions. That time you use the SOAR method. But have you all heard of hypothetical questions or imaginary questions? Have you all been asked an imaginary question in any interview? Quickly, yes, no. Ma'am, I don't know what an imaginary question is. Muskan says yes. All right. Rishika says yes. Great. Anyone who doesn't know what is a hypothetical question? So for everyone who does not know, because I see quite a few folks who are silent, hypothetical question is a question that could possibly never happen और हो भी सकता है but बहुत far fetched है. What if tomorrow you found 1 crore hidden in your house? अरे हो सकता है बट बहुत हाइपोथेटिकल है. व्हाट इफ यू ओन्ड इंडिगो एयरलाइंस, व्हाट वुड यू चेंज फर्स्ट? हाइपोथेटिकल है but possible hai. So hypothetical, sometimes it's not possible also. So I remember in one of the interview, the interviewer asked, what if you had to feed the full world for 1 year? Now that's a hypothetical question. Is it a behavioral question? How many of y'all think it's a behavioral question? Eating chole bhature for the whole world has to eat chole bhature for 1 year. What do you all think? Quickly tell me in the chat box. Behavioral hai? Says no. Great. What about the others? Hypothetical. All right. All right. Perfect. So at least you all understood what is hypothetical and behavioral. Now in hypothetical, you all have to use the PAW method. PAW, which means you talk about a priority, you talk about an action, and then you talk about why to do that. So let me give you an example. So the example is, suppose you were to own in XYZ Airlines, what would you change first? A lot of people would say this, ma'am, I'll make it the best airline, I will improve customer service, I'll invest in technology, I'll train all my staff. But a better answer is you talk about one problem area or one thing that you will prioritize. You can also say, ma'am, pilot. I would like to work on the pilots because they work long hours and they have long distance flights that they usually take. It's very tiresome. What would you do? What is the action? Ma'am, I would ensure that they follow a tight roster. There is enough staff, enough pilots so that we don't have any shortage. And why would you do that? Why would you take all these actions? That's because you've seen the pilot condition, you've seen plane crash happening. So when you bring honesty into your answer and when you share your viewpoint, that shows that the answer is not rote learned. Understood? When you are giving a difficult answer, try and use the PAW method. When it is a behavioral thing, try and use the SOAR method. So I'm going to ask one question to you all where I would want you all to answer using the SOAR method. You all can give in the answer in the chat box as well. Tell me, if the interviewer asks you, tell me about a time you handled a difficult person. How would you structure your answer? How would you use the SOAR method to answer this question? Any thoughts?
So by using SOAR method, so I'll describe the situation in shortly.
In a
Then
short
I'll
way,
tell,
not
yeah, in
shortly,
short way.
short way.
Sorry, in short way. Then I'll mention the what was the obstacle.
Very
O
good.
for obstacle, right? Yeah,
Obstacle, correct.
yeah. Then I'll talk about what action I can take on that,
Hmm.
and after that I'll tell about the result.
Perfect, perfect. That's the right way to go. Now tell me, which question did you get in Spin the Wheel?
The funniest thing you have heard.
So can you tell me the funniest thing that you've heard?
I can't think of that actually.
So, if the interviewer had to ask you this question, I can't think of it, actually is not an answer. So, always remember, in an interview, when the interviewer asks you, you can make up the funny situation as well. It doesn't have to always be, because at that moment, if you can't think of a funny situation, then it means you can't think on the feet. And
Got
that's,
it.
yeah. How do we use the SOAR in a script, in a structure? How do you really sound yourself? So what we're going to do now is that we're going to start spinning the wheel. I'm going to ask you all questions, and if you're free to answer the simple questions, great. I'll tell you all how could the questions get more difficult. All right, any volunteers who would want to do one round of conversation so that we can look at
Yeah,
it?
ma'am.
All right, so Ayushi, I'll spin the wheel for you, or you want to go with your original question?
I can go with the original question.
What's your original question?
What's my superpower?
What's your superpower? All right, so let's get started. What's your superpower?
My superpower is empathy.
Your super
Empathy.
empathy.
I can I can understand others' emotion while helping them through it and also regulating the emotion myself so it doesn't overpower me as well as themselves. Handling the situation well so it goes well for both of us.
Wonderful. What confidence I can hear. That's really nice. Now I'm going to ask you a difficult question, and I would want you to put it in the SOAR format. I don't want you to tell me the answer, but largely give me a structure that shows how you would do it. So imagine your best friend suddenly becomes quiet. Everyone who is there around you actually tells you that, you know what, your best friend has become a drama queen. What would you do?
My first most reaction would be to tell them that she is not overreacting, she is going through something, and I'll make sure that my friend get out that circle and get some personal time to herself so she can regulate her emotions. I'll stay by her side till then. I'll stay by her side till then she open up about her feelings. I'll talk to her. I'll ask her if she's comfortable to share it with me. She can share it with me. If she doesn't want to share, we can do something to help us overcome the situation, like watching a series, having an ice cream. The result could be that we both end up having a good laugh about it and having a good memory at the end of the situation.
Lovely. And how did you use the SOAR method? Did it help you in structuring your answer?
Yeah,
Yeah, did it help you?
yeah.
Lovely.
Actually, I'll list out. Okay. So, firstly, I handle the situation by telling all of them to shut down. Then, secondly, obstacle handling my best friend and taking her to the other place. Action staying by her side while she was going through it. We had a ice cream and had a good talk.
So it's nice to see that you're already putting in the SOAR method into action. And this is what this entire quick short webinar is all about, right? This quick short webinar is that using the SOAR, it's not a script. I'm sure, Ayush, you must have realized that you didn't follow any script. You put your own thoughts and you put a structure into a difficult question. So, what we firmly believe is that all of y'all are already ready to fly, just that you'll need to tune the difficult questions that come out so that your originality comes out in an interview. Yeah, so Ayushi, thank you so much for participating. I hope this session and this structure helped. Open to any questions that you all might have now. Any questions, any thoughts? Do you all think this helped you all? Quickly tell me yes, no, gave a little bit of structure, and any other query that you may have.
Okay, ma'am. So, you told us that SOAR method is better than the STAR method. Is there a specific reason behind?
The SOAR method, what generally happens is, as a human, when we look at a problem and when we have the ability to give a solution, we feel very happy about ourselves. So, if you do not have the structure of what action to take, it is always better to put a problem, because the minute you look at a problem, your mind automatically starts thinking, okay, how do I solve it? What can I do? And because SOAR is used in a format which is more behavioral, your originality will come out in what actions you take. And that's the reason why you can use the STAR method. There's no right or wrong. But when you are really getting stuck with your answer, it's better to use the SOAR method over the STAR method. I could answer your question, Ayushi.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any more questions? Else we'll call it a night. I know it's been really late. Any
Ma'am, may I
questions?
ask one question?
Yes, Vaibhavi.
Like there are type of questions we can categorize, like behavioral questions you said, hypothetical questions you said. Are there any different type of questions also?
So generally there are routine questions. Routine questions are questions about your routine, your brother, sister, best friend, mother, father, relatives, someone's routine. So those are one kind of questions. The second kind of questions are experiential questions, where you talk about someone's experience, or an opinion question, where you are asked about your opinion. Then the third one is behavioral, which is largely to understand, which are also situational questions. How do you react in a particular situation? And then there are hypothetical questions. This is the easiest way in which I categorize my questions, because it's easier to know which tense to use and which structure to use. And by
Okay.
default, routine questions are always present tense. You never use past tense in a routine question. Lovely. Any more questions that you all may have? It's nice to have a personalized group where I can answer your questions quickly. So any more questions? Thumbs up works that you all are good to go. I know it's late. Are we good to go? Let me see. I have some questions in the chat box. Ma'am, I have a scar on my forearm. I don't know how deep the scar is, Rishika, but if it is not visible, I don't think it should be an issue. Any more questions that you may have?
As I've already mentioned that we are doing PhD right now, but does hyperpigmentation has an issue?
Hyperpigmentation depends on how much of it is visible, and that answer possibly the Indigo team will be better aligned to give. I will not be able to give you an answer on that, my dear.
Actually, they didn't have any issue and they didn't mention anything about it. But if I think about myself, I don't want to get disqualified in the
If you
future.
have if you have cleared your interview rounds, and if you're in PhD, that means the only barrier that is there is your language capability. So you've already jumped that obstacle. Don't go back again. Great. Thank you, Web, for your kind words. I am trying to figure out if we could do this once every Thursday at this time of the night. Does this time of the night work for you all? Quickly, yes, no, in the chat
Yes.
box.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, all right. So y'all can also extend this to other friends who want to learn the language, who aspire to join Indigo as cabin crew. We will meet again next Thursday at 10 o'clock. The team will share the link. Please feel free to spread it across. This time is largely like a late night trainer who can help you all with queries, questions that you all might have. Doesn't matter which institute you all are a part of. It's just to make sure that everyone gets a job at Indigo or Air India or Akasa or any international airline. But thank you so much for taking out time on Thursday late night, 10 o'clock. And all the best. Have a good day ahead, girls. Whatever is remaining, a good night ahead.
Thank you for the session, Mara.